Hello, Grüß Gott. On this video, we're going to remove our seat on our 2001 Toyota Camry. This is the kind that has the electric activated seats. And what I'm going to do is the seat's actually working. It goes forward and back okay. It's just that it struggles because it probably needs some lubrication. All the motors work, nothing's frozen. And there's actually some videos on YouTube to tell you what to do if they're frozen. You take a square drive and take this panel off over here, and you access a square drive screw and unfreeze it. But we like to adjust the seat a lot because there's several drivers that drive this car. So what we're going to do is take the seat out, and I'm going to show you from the back where the bolts go in. And then you also are supposed to replace all the bolts when you ever take the seat out. So we're going to take the bolts out. I'm going to talk about that in a second. And we're going to also unplug the harness from underneath that drives all the electrics. And then we will take it into the house where it's cool because it's only 113 today here in Phoenix. And then we will see if we can do any kind of techniques to try to lubricate this. We bought some spray-on white lithium grease. And so we'll check it out, see how it goes. Okay, so this is a view from the rear. And on the leftmost fastener, the one that's closest to the door, you have to pull a little plastic cover plate off carefully because on a 15-year-old car, they're pretty fragile due to the plasticizers drying out. So just be real careful, snap it off. And then we're gonna take the bolt out there. And then on the other side, the one furthest away from the door, the bolt goes kind of in the side. We're gonna take that loose. And then I'm gonna show you here in the front where the bolts are located. Okay, looking at it from the front now, you can see where the two bolts are placed that hold the front part of the seat down. So again, we'll take those out. And also I wanted to remind you, when you put new bolts in, you have to torque them to a certain specification to meet DOT standards. So that's very important. And so once we get the seat pulled out, again, we have to also unplug the harness underneath. We'll take it inside the house where it's a lot less than 113, and we'll start taking a look at it and see what we can do to lubricate this bad boy. Here's the seat. We've turned it upside down and put it on some towels. And it has 3 axes of adjustment. One is the pitch of the back, one is the forward and backward movement, and one is up and down. So there's 3 drive motors and 3 drive systems, and all of them use lead screws like these. And like, for example, on the rails here where it slides, the grease is really waxy from age. This is 15-year-old grease. So it's all waxy. So what we're going to do on the slide areas is we're going to clean them really well with some 91% IPA on some cloths and clean that all up really good. And then we're going to lubricate it with some white lithium grease. And then for the lead screws themselves, we're going to use Krytox grease like this. And we're going to dab it on with these little dabbers, put it on nice and thick. And we have a 12-volt supply. I'll show you that here in a second. And also all the electrical connections, I'm going to use some deoxit fader lube. This should help clean the connections themselves such that they make the best connection possible. And then I'll show you the power supply here in a second. Right here I have a 12-volt power supply built about 35 years ago. And it will supply the power here for the different motors. And the way to connect it up is there's a connector here on the bottom of the seat. It's got 3 wires, 2 big ones on one side and then 1 small one. The small one you can ignore. The very large one that's got a black and white stripe on mine, or it's white with a black stripe, that goes to the negative. And then the center wire, which on mine is blue with a white stripe, goes to the positive. You hook up the power supply and then you can exercise each axis. So what we're going to do, like I said, is clean them all up, lubricate them really well, and then we're going to go through the exercise of each one, and we'll come back and show you what the results were. At this point, what we've done is we've lubricated all of these lead screws. There's one here, one on the side, one here, one on this other side over here, and one underneath. You can see them all pretty easily. You don't need to pull any covers off. Also, I pushed in on these and unclipped each of these electrical connectors. And as I mentioned earlier, I used the deoxit on them to clean those. And I wanted to mention that we used Krytox grease on these lead screws, but if you don't have Krytox grease, Mission Automotive makes a silicone paste that works quite well, so you could use that as a substitute. So at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually actuate all the axes and drive them to their opposite positions. But before I do that, I'm going to take some white lithium grease and coat these areas here and get them all greased up. And then I'll drive the whole channels down, and then we will grease the other half, and I'll show you that here in a minute. All right, so now what we've done is we've folded the seat out and we've greased any of the pieces that we needed to get to, and also we adjusted the slides so they're all the way down this way, and we've greased the rails here. And what we're going to do is we're going to run it with the power supply a couple of times up and down to get the grease worked in, and then we're going to go reinstall it in the car. So the next thing we'll do is show you how to bolt it back in. At this point, what we've done is we've reinstalled the bolts and we've torqued them down to 27 foot-pounds. And to do that, you're going to have to actuate the seat frontwards and backwards to get to all the bolts. And then we're going to put the cover on, and then we're ready to actuate the seat and show you how well it works. So what we're going to do is come around to the front of the driver's side door and take a look at the seat while we actuate it, and we'll show you how well it works. All right, I have the seat all the way forward and I'm sitting in it, and this must be for like a 3-foot tall person. So I'm going to go ahead and move the seat back and I'll show you how smooth it is. It's as smooth as butter now, going back. Probably good for another 5 or 6 years. And then I'm going to raise it up, nice and smooth on that axis as well. Just like a brand new car. It's bringing me way up high. And then I have to adjust the other part here. See if I can make that work. Make the seat go down and I'll bring it back up. It's all working. So it looks like we had a lot of success. It's as smooth as silk. And so hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. Tschüss.